It's too big of an in breath. I've breathed too much. I've panicked myself. Thinking about breathing too much now. I love ADHD. It's great. Right. Hello and welcome one and all to my YouTube show, Creative Spark, where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is the artist powering the homebrew videos on this very YouTube channel, Wyntre. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm fine. I was going to say tired. I complain about being tired all the time. I've now complained about being tired in a slightly
Yes.
longer manner, so that was
Yes.
a. I'm
It's fine.
fine.
We're okay. We're totally not full of ADHD here.
We're pushing through. um, so a lot of the people I interview are content creators. I've interviewed one game dev, so having an artist on is novel. So congrats.
Hey.
So let's
I
talk.
feel special.
You should. Let's talk. Where did your interest in artwork and art in general start?
Um, oh gosh. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've always been an artist. So that definitely stemmed um from like young age.
Mhm.
And then I only really officially decided that I want to really pursue art in terms of like a career, maybe within like the last year or so.
Okay.
And it's been going well so far. I specialize in like commissions, like character creation, doing items and stuff, and like the oddball here and there.
Very cool. How have you been finding doing it professionally versus doing it as a hobby?
I mean, they say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and that's kind of how I feel about art.
I've monetized so many of my hobbies, and it's just
I mean, that's what they say. I don't know if it's really true, but no,
I'm.
I absolutely love doing art.
That's good. I'm with Brian David Gilbert. He did the. They say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And then he looks at the camera and he goes, "And let me tell you, I have worked some days," and that's basically how I feel about it. But I'm also old and exhausted perpetually. So, um,
I feel
how
that.
is art your full time job now? Then
Yes, art is my full-time job, and as well as taking care of my cats and my house.
very cool. How was the transition? Like, how was the jump into it from having a normal job?
I mean, we're still kind of transitioning, me and my partners. This is something that we had talked about for a good month or so before fully transitioning into me being, like a stay-at-home wife
Mhm.
and taking care of the house and working on my art full time. So we're still kind of in the process, still transitioning, but so far it's actually been working out really well for us. Like it made sense for us in our household for me to stay at home and then I can focus on my art, which is something that like I'm very passionate about.
That's really cool. Do you find that the way that you work on pieces has changed?
Um I don't think it's changed so much. I mean, I'm a lot faster now at doing art pieces. Whereas before, like if I was doing, say, a character portrait,
Mhm.
it would take me probably like 4 or 5 days from start to finish. Now I can do a character portrait in like 1 to 2 days, depending on how invested I am in it
Yeah.
and how much time I spend on it, which is all day.
Do you find that there are projects that you're more committed to and less committed to? Not on purpose, but just by the nature of the projects themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely find that you love some pieces more than others. You have more passion for one project versus another. I definitely love doing character portraits and items.
Hmm.
But if someone comes up to me and is like, "I want a landscape" or whatnot, I'm like, that's gonna take me a little longer because I don't love doing landscapes
Mm.
or backgrounds or like outdoor scenes or anything like that.
Okay. Is that just because you don't like doing them, or are they more hassle? What's the reasoning behind it?
I it's a bit of both.
It's
I
understandable.
just I don't love doing like backgrounds. I prefer to focus on the characters
Hmm.
and the details on the character versus backgrounds and stuff like that. That's why I don't do a lot of like painting on canvas
Hmm.
because a lot of it is you have to have the background and stuff too to make it look more complete. And I'm like, eh.
Understandable. Are there pieces that you've worked on that really stand out in your like mind as being some of your best work?
Absolutely. I want to say probably one of my more favorite pieces was this portrait of a friend's dog that I did. And it was very like simple, very clean, and it stands out to me the most just because of how simple it was. And it was kind of more like a really nice like it was like a fresh breath. Like it was
Hmm.
very refreshing to do something different and simple versus what I normally do.
Mm,
So that was probably one of my favorite pieces so far to date.
very cool. Um, is that an avenue you'd like to explore more of artistically?
Absolutely. Like it's still within the realm of portraiture and portraits, so but doing pet portraits is definitely something that I would love to do more of. I love capturing like someone's pet in my style. It's very fun.
What's the process like for working on something you can see versus something that you're like trying to come up with the idea for?
Um I mean, it's obviously two completely different processes. Working with like a direct reference or like a pet, typically. So, like, what I did for this pass for my friend's dog is I had her send me a bunch of different reference photos, and I essentially took one that I loved the most,
Hmm.
and I traced it essentially with like my sketch outline, drawing over and trying to capture all the features. And then from there, it's on to like the inking and the coloring. So it's definitely speeds up the process when it comes to starting the drawing and sketching out the drawing.
Hmm.
It's a lot faster versus trying to pull something out of my brain and draw from nothing.
Mm. Is there a big worry when you are sketching something that's like from out of your brain? Is there ever a worry that what you're going to come out with is going to be completely different to what they've envisioned?
Every time. Every time I'm constantly like, okay, well, I like this, but is my customer going to like
Mm.
this? And, there's always that fear of, like if I don't like it, are they not going to like it? Or if I love it, are they going to hate it? Or whatever. There's always that fear.
Yeah. Is that something you're getting better at dealing with as you're getting further into this?
A little bit, a little. It's not as drastic of oh my god they're gonna hate it. It's like there's that chance that they might ask me to change a few things
Mm.
here or there. It's I'm definitely not as dramatic about it.
It's very important to be separated from your output as a creative person.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something I had to learn fairly early on as a freelance writer because edits would come back and he'd be like, "I'm the worst." Uh,
We are our own worst critics.
yeah, the key is to never look at your creative output again. Uh,
Just throw it away.
that's what I do. I write stuff, I put stuff out, and I never look at it again. Uh, I don't think that's the healthiest way to deal with it, but look, you gotta make it through. Um, how much time do you think you spend drawing versus like planning and things like that on each individual piece?
Uh, it really depends on the piece, I think. The more complex a piece is, I would definitely spend more time pulling up like reference photos, plotting it, designing it. Um, there's one piece I did. It was probably like the first pet portrait piece that I did, and it was for a animal groomer,
Hmm.
and they essentially groomed all sorts of animals like cats, dogs. I believe there's also some bunnies, and they also had a couple birds. And the person that contacted me was one of their clients, and they said that, I want to have this portrait made as like a gift,
Hmm.
and I would love to incorporate as many animals as possible. So that definitely took a lot longer trying to, place all the reference photos, make sure I get as many animals in there that I could, and make sure it all like was cohesive. So that piece probably took me like 2 weeks
Okay.
in comparison to like this dog portrait that I just did for my friend. That one took me like 4 or 5 days total.
Makes sense.
So it really depends on the piece.
Do you get much chance to practice? I know it sounds like a silly question because you're always drawing, but like, do you get much chance to just practice specific things that maybe you don't feel like you're as good at, or things that you want to just work on in general?
I mean, I definitely have all the time in the world to
Mm.
practice. Do I?
I, I don't practice
That's a whole nother
writing,
question.
so
Exactly. That's like a whole nother question. Which the answer is no.
are there any like dream projects you'd absolutely love to work on one day?
Oh my goodness. I mean, when I was younger, I always had a dream to uh be like an animator for like Disney or Pixar or work on like my own comic or potentially make a video game. So I've always had like these very elaborate dreams. Right now, my dream would just be to make enough to actually support myself and my partners
Mhm.
through my artwork. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still, kind of at the beginnings of that journey. So, I'm taking every commission that I can get, trying to find partnerships wherever I can,
Mhm.
without stretching myself too thin,
Yep.
because that's also a huge thing.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, being able to fully support myself off of my art is the dream.
Makes perfect sense. How do you go about actually finding projects? Do they usually come to you?
It's a mix of both. So I had people come to me, much like you. You came to me,
It's true.
several times.
Yep.
And then
Regularly.
regularly
Actually,
we have
the
a
the
week
the the,
week
the
weekly
design of this is
agreement.
yours. Yeah. Now I'm talking to you
Yep.
constantly, so sorry.
It's okay. I'm not complaining. It's constant work. It means I have a reoccurring paycheck.
Mm.
Um so people come to me. I will just consistently share my art and say, "Hey, I have commissions open." So it's kind of just a mix of both.
Makes sense. Has there been anything that's come in that you're like, no, I'm not doing that?
Um
That's somehow friendly enough for this podcast.
I haven't turned anything down, but I have had some strange requests, but I'm it's definitely not social media worthy.
Okay.
It's essentially what this person wanted was the Pepe frog,
Right.
but with like Squidward's nose and SpongeBob's big blue eye. It was a weird mesh of things. That's it yeah. Um yeah, it was definitely strange, but money is money.
Money is money.
And I yeah. It was probably one of those projects where I could have turned down, but I'm money.
The fear of not taking on work as a freelancer is constant.
Exactly. And that's the problem with being a freelancer is that if I don't have work, I don't have work.
Yes. Yeah. How are you adjusting to that aspect of this?
That aspect of things has definitely been more of the bigger struggle of this adjustment period, I would say. Um, but again, we're adjusting, I'm adjusting. It's only been like a month or so since I've actually stopped working and started being at home full time, so we're
Mhm.
still kind of in that transition period. So far it's been all positive, so
Good.
that's good, yeah.
Very, very good. Outside of kind of making this a stable income, what are like your long term aims for it?
Um, I would say my long-term aim, aside from making this a stable income, would just be to obviously improve my art, get it to a point where I actually do have to turn down people because I have too much on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then find more interesting avenues that I can traverse down, like maybe working on a comic, maybe working on a video game. Um Maybe doing like more like Dungeons and Dragons art, character art and stuff like that. Um, but I would love to get to a point where I actually have to turn down work because I'm too busy. That would be a huge, huge thing.
It's a weird state of being to be at as a freelancer when that
Yeah.
happens. When you have to start being a bit pickier, especially in the current climate where, and
Hmm.
not even the stuff that's going on in the US, but just like generally in capitalism in general, everywhere,
Yes.
things are a little sketchy for freelancers at the moment.
Even where I am in Canada, it's
Mm.
it's it's a tricky path, I would say.
It is, but it's not like having a job is that much more stable, really.
No. It's kind of pick your poison at this point.
Yep, exactly. Ah, the joys. Don't let the thoughts in. Let's move to D&D. Yeah. As you mentioned D&D character portraits and stuff.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, for myself, you do the homebrew item pictures and whatnot. This
Yes.
obviously goes back to your love of D&D in general. So when did you start? Where did you discover D&D? How long have you been playing and whatnot?
So I literally started D&D probably when I was like 5 or 6, literally
Wow.
sitting on like my father's lap, rolling the dice for him, that sort of thing. So I was very young when I first got introduced to it, even if I didn't know it at the time.
Mm.
And then as I got older and more understanding of the world and everything, I slowly got introduced into Dungeons and Dragons even more. I think I played my first game when I was like 10.
Okay, cool.
Um, and I'm 27 now, so 17 years ago. And it was the first edition Red Box adventure that I had played. So very, very basic D&D.
Mm.
And I just remember it being so much fun that I just wanted to do even more and delve into it. And now here I am, 17 years later. I run D&D now. I've made my father proud because he's raised a D&D nerd. My sister is also into D&D. Like it's a family ordeal.
That's awesome. Do you guys play at like family meetups?
We do actually.
Oh, that's sick.
I just got home from a trip last week and I spent a few extra days at my parents' house after the trip and we actually played D&D. And I'm
Incredible
like,
family bonding.
it was fantastic. It literally most families have family game night. We have family D&D night.
Which is like a D&D day. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I actually ran my daughter's first session over the weekend. She's at 6, so
Oh
she's
my
very young.
goodness.
I did it for her and a couple of her friends, so all around the same age, and stripped it back a lot, obviously, because it's not a simple game system. So instead of like stat scores, it was just the modifiers, and I let them
Yes.
choose like you can put a 5 in one, a 4 in one, one in 3, 2, 1, and 0, and I let them choose it all, and I got them all to describe their characters, and it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun
Oh
as
my
well,
God.
which
You
is
got to
cool.
start them young. You got to start them young.
I want them to be
Start that dice
nerds
addiction young.
as quickly as possible. Yeah, exactly. I need them to be nerds so that they don't leave the house, and then I don't have to worry about anything else.
Exactly. Exactly. Then, all you have to worry about is them spending all their money on dice
Yeah,
and not drugs.
and I can't criticize them for that because actually, to be
Exactly.
fair, I don't have that many sets of dice. I've only got four.
I call it
Oh,
I aspire to be Laura Bailey with, a giant bag of dice. I don't
yep.
even know. It's somewhere. I wish I had it nearby. But it's a bag.
It's a beast of a
It's
break.
huge.
I do mostly play digitally, so having real world dice is kind of
See,
stupid.
I love my click clacks. I love the click clack. I have the dice tower. I love the sound that it makes. It makes my brain go burr. I also
Respect.
just love collecting dice too.
As just a
Um,
collector thing, yeah.
Actually, I have a set of dice right here. They are real malachite dice. Ah, there was a D20. So they're real malachite.
That's amazing. What did you
So they're
roll?
cut. What did I roll? I don't even know. Actually, that was D12. I rolled a 4. That's not great.
Yeah, it's about right.
Yeah. But so yeah, these are real malachite. I don't know. They match my nails.
They're real pretty.
That's funny. Yeah, so they're cut from the gemstone, and they were probably my most expensive pair of dice. And
Do
I
you want
got
to tell
them
us
at
how
a
much?
comic
You don't have to.
well over a couple $100.
You know it's bad when you say over. It was over $5. I will not go into
they
more
were
details.
they were at least 150,
Okay, I
if not
respect it.
more.
I've not spent
Yeah.
that much. I always end up watching Ginny D's videos on crazy dice
hmm
and being like, oh, I could
Also,
get
there's a
these dice.
helicopter going over my house right now. I'm so sorry if my mic picks that up.
Can't hear it. You've
Okay,
anyone
then
watching,
we're good.
you heard a couple of motorbikes go past my house at some point during this session. So,
I live on a military base, so
oh wow.
military vehicles, helicopters, all that, all day, every day. It's something you get used to. So,
Mm, yeah, I
yeah.
can imagine. Um, do you prefer DMing or playing?
I like both. So, I don't really have an opinion or a preference. I love both. I love being able to play. I love being able to DM. I'm not, a forever player, forever
Mm,
DM. I'm equally in the middle.
it's the best place to be. That's where I sit. So
Yeah.
that's where I try to sit. Although I will scramble to do anything with D&D the moment it's mentioned. So
D&D? Yes.
yeah, hyperfixations are bad, especially long-term
uh
ones.
yes.
Long-term ones are scary. Um, Wonderful. Right, is there anything you'd like to plug? It's a shorter interview today, but that's fine.
It's okay. Um yeah, I would love to plug my Instagram page, W Rashik Art. I am open for commissions as always. And I would also love to plug Magic Academy.
Mhm.
They are a LGBT plus queer owned and operated uh, actual play group,
Cool.
D&D group. We stream every Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m., I believe, on Twitch. And we have our Discord community, which is just a happy little gay place to be.
Awesome. How did you get into that? I'm pivoting back.
That's
We
okay.
can plug midway through a thing. It's fine.
Plug midway and then come back into it.
It's my
That's fine.
podcast.
I do what I want.
Yeah. How did you find yourself in the actual play space?
Through some mutual friends. Um, just I through the pandemic, the height of pandemic, and meeting your friends online was huge because you couldn't go outside to do it.
Yep.
And especially being in Canada, like 90% of my friends are all in the US
Okay.
or across the pond.
Yep. Yep.
So, through Discord, typically I would just meet up with some friends, have some chatting. Someone invited me to Magic Academy server, and I became really good friends with the CEO Randall, and the I was gonna say vice president, yeah, vice president Aliza, and became really good friends with them, and applied to be a moderator,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of just went from there. And at some point they asked me to be a part of their team, so I do a lot for Magic Academy as well. Like I do my official title is graphic designer,
Mm-hmm.
so I've helped to make overlays, I've helped to make the website, I've helped to make like art, I've done merch, I have actually written some one shots that we sell.
Very cool.
I do a lot.
That's really cool. How was writing? Is it okay? I am someone who is multi-classed into various different things. ADHD. So I'm in no way saying that you can only do one or the other, but you obviously do develop a confidence with the main thing. So how was writing versus how you feel about your art generally?
So writing RPGs and one shots and stuff like that is definitely a new skill that I have come to appreciate. I thoroughly enjoy it. I like making up stories and making up challenges and Like, okay, so your player walks into a tavern, you see a shady figure, what do you do?
Mhm.
Um, it's definitely a new experience, and I am still 100% learning, but it's really fun. It's really enjoyable, and like sometimes on these one shots, I can still make an art piece. Like, okay, I'm
Mm.
gonna draw the monster for this for the big bad at the
Right.
end, and it's so I'm still incorporating my art into it regardless. Um, but it's just a new skill, and I like it. I love learning.
I respect it. And imagine it's nice to be drawing your own monsters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to create the monster from scratch, like literally from the stats to the artwork and how I see it is it's how do I put it? It's very fulfilling.
Mm.
It's a very fulfilling experience, and I'm like, I made this literally from square zero
Yeah,
to the finished product. Like it's very fulfilling.
it's very cool. So you're kind of dual wielding the arts and the D&D stuff, like actually, which
Yeah,
is
absolutely. Yeah, literally dual wielding. Yeah.
very cool. Would there be a point at which you would take one or the other over the other if you needed to, or is the ideal?
If I mean, if I ever needed to, I would probably pick art over writing
Okay.
because I feel like I'm definitely stronger and more confident in my artwork than I am my writing skills.
Mhm.
But right now, I'm comfortable and confident in doing both.
Very cool. It's always good to have more strings on your bow, even though it would make for a terrible bow. Um,
Yes.
more strings on your harp would make more sense.
Yeah, more
Words are
more tools in your case.
stupid. The English is a preposterous language, and I constantly have to explain it to my daughter because she's learning it. She's like, "Why is this like this?" And I'm like, "Darling, I'm sorry. This language is nonsense. I can't help you here.
Yeah. Yep.
I am sorry."
And we're not even going to talk about Canadian English versus British English.
I don't think I know anything about Canadian English. I would presume it's
That
similar
there's
to US English.
uh,
Have you got your own version of English again?
probably definitely. I mean, we have our own version of French,
You
so
do have your own version of French. I am very aware of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is people call it the redneck French, which is very true.
I was going
You
to
speak
try
French
and
here, you speak French here versus actually going to France, and people look at you weird.
just trying to wrap my head around trying to do a southern accent while speaking French, and it's causing my brain to short circuit. Because I can do the
Don't think about
southern
it too
accent
hard.
well enough, but I don't know if I can speak in French. Bonjour, monsieur. I guess it ends up just sounding a bit gambit-ish, right?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Don't know.
Anyway, uh,
ADHD at its finest.
ADHD. So much ADHD. Um, most people. There's a far higher percentage of people with ADHD who are self-employed for obvious reasons. Turns out normal jobs don't really work for us.
Nope.
So if you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm more comfortable as a freelancer, then and you're not diagnosed. Maybe you should be. uh, the simple pleasures.
Oh.
Right. This time, I will actually end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and finding time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. This has been a blast.
It has. We will do a full D&D focused one at some point as well,
Yes.
because I like talking, obviously. And I like talking about D&D more. So you have to channel it. But yes, we will link. I will link to the Instagram and to the other thing, which I've forgotten because my brain is rubbish.
Magic
Thank
Academy.
you. This is why it's all recorded.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna wave at the camera now as the bye because that was what Pointy Hat did. So yeah, bye bye.